Hey guys, so today we're gonna do a Q&A, gonna answer some questions, very casual, chill, like I always do these. It's so funny, Jackson's watching me film and he's like, hi. Like you can tell he doesn't really know if he should like interrupt me or not. He keeps looking at me. Are you getting your cars? Okay, go get your cars. All right guys, so we are gonna do a little Q&A. I asked you guys here on YouTube for questions. We're gonna answer them. The AC is kind of blasting, so the audio might not be the greatest. The kids are also watching SpongeBob, the musical, so you might hear that in the background. This is just how I always do my Q&As, but it's like nice for me to sit down and chat with you guys just about some of the stuff that you guys have been asking about and just like wanting to know. If my eyes, you might not even be able to see them totally because I'm wearing a hat because of the fact that my hair is absolutely gross and dirty. If my eyes appear to be swollen, it is because I just finished watching the Queen Charlotte thing on Netflix, I think it is. It's on Netflix. It's like the Bridgerton story about Queen Charlotte. You guys, I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it was so good. Number one, like I loved it. It was so good, but I was bawling my eyes off this entire like little series. I think it's only like 6 episodes. It was so good, but made me cry so much. So if you're looking for something new to watch and you want like a good, beautiful, like romantic love story to watch, that one I would recommend. I don't know how many of you guys are Bridgerton fans. I will tell you, like, I like the Bridgerton series. There is like a lot of nudity and stuff in the series. So like I fast forward through that because like I don't watch like nudity and like movies and stuff anymore. Used to back in the day, it was like whatever, but like these days, like I choose to just like fast forward. If you can get past that or you don't care about that, whatever, then the show is great. And it was just such a beautiful story. So point is, my eyes might look swollen. All right, so let's just get into it. Somebody asked, have you grown in places other than your bump? I guess in terms to like the size of my belly. This person said that she's grown in her butt and her thighs in addition to the bump. I think that's normal. Definitely my butt is bigger. Definitely my thighs are bigger. It's funny though, because like as you progress through your pregnancy, I think I've heard that your like butt muscles, like the actual muscle itself, like starts to like disintegrate or deteriorate because something about like you metabolize the fat in your butt during pregnancy. Maybe that's a total lie, but I have heard that once like you go through pregnancy, for a lot of women, like you actually like lose your butt. So maybe I've lost like some of the volume of my butt, but like just my size and my thighs, I feel like everything has gotten a little bit bigger, which is fine. Like you're growing human. I try to not get caught up too much on that. All right, so some of these questions I'm gonna try to combine because I've kind of skimmed through them and like a lot of them are the same. So this person asked like about church, the fact that they haven't been in a few years, but now they have a toddler, they wanna go back, which I think is great. A lot of the things that I hear is like, I've got a kid, I wanna go back to church. Like, how do you keep them entertained in church? Like, is it that, like, what do you do with the kids? How do you get them to not be noisy during church? So my biggest tip for you guys, if you guys are looking to attend a church, regardless of what kind of church it is, whether it's just a Christian church or a Catholic church, churches do things differently. So yes, some of the culture might be different. Like some churches allow you to leave your kids in like a little nursery. Some churches don't have that. Some of them have baby cry rooms where like you're not disturbing the general public during church. It's like a room where like most of the kids will sit in. Other churches don't have that. So you kind of have to look and see like what you've got to work with. But in terms of getting our kids to sit through church, like they sit next to us, like right next to us in the general public for the most part. Okay, sorry, I had to run out because Jackson has a nosebleed. Like the kid keeps picking his nose and then he gets nosebleeds. So that's fun. But sorry, what I was trying to say is that for us, the biggest thing is snacks. So we do not go to church unless we have their backpacks full of snacks. We try to make them like the least noisy snacks. Like even if like we take like a bag of Pirate's Booty, Joe will empty the bag of Pirate's Booty, put it in like a Ziploc so that it's not like the crinkly, crunchy, you know, like the sounds of the bag. So we always go with snacks. And then some kids do really great with just basic stuff like coloring books. The day that we had that 3-hour-long service for Easter Vigil, that's when I went to the Dollar Tree and I found a bunch of stuff there that kept Riley entertained, like stickers. I got her like an empty notebook with stickers and then she was able to put the stickers and like draw stuff during the mass. A lot of parents will take books or will take like little kids' Bibles so that the kids can flip through them. like just anything like that. We got like little poppets, like those little things that the kids like to play with, little poppets for that service. Because it was so long, I even brought with me like a little bag of, it was kind of like Play-Doh, but not really. It was like a modeling clay. I don't know. It wasn't super messy. Didn't smell like Play-Doh, so it wasn't like this, you know, like they were making a mess. But I just tried to find things that would keep them entertained, things that they had never seen before, since it was going to be so long. But every kid's going to be different. For us, we found the biggest thing to help is just snacks. Jackson will also take like his little cars, because, you know, he's obsessed with his cars. So he'll sit there and play with his cars. Riley's a little older now, so she doesn't need as much entertainment. But usually with snacks and like a couple toys, they're fine. I've also gotten a lot of questions about whether or not I'm gonna use my LV this time around for pumping. So I don't know if I ever shared this here on my channel, but my LV actually broke. So I know I had shared my LV ages ago when I used to pump with Jackson, but one of the pumps stopped working. Like it just wouldn't charge, something happened with it. And it was my fault. Like I should have followed through with customer service. Like there was a customer service number. I had a ticket going with customer service saying, hey, this broke. But it was one of those things where like I didn't follow through with the customer service ticket because it was towards my the end of my pumping journey. So like, I don't know, I got distracted. It wasn't as important at the time. And I kind of let that like slip through the cracks, which I'm actually very upset about right now, like in this moment, because of the fact that like there went my LV. I think I might have one pump that still works, so I'm gonna go and see if maybe that one still works, if I can still use it. But other than the fact that like it broke, like one of them just stopped working, I liked that pump as a wireless pump. I'm trying to not have to buy one of those wireless ones unless I see that I'm using it consistently. Like every pregnancy is different, every kid's, you know, like breastfeeding journey is going to be different. I would like to try to breastfeed with this baby, but if that doesn't work out, then maybe I will have to pump. Maybe I'll have to pump anyway. With Jackson, I believe I pumped more than with Riley. So like, I want to see how much I'm going to actually need to use a pump before spending all the money on a new wireless pump. I do still have my Spectra that I plan on using as just like my normal pump. Having a hands-free pump is really nice if you are going to be pumping a ton, but it's very expensive. Like I looked up to like repurchase the LV, and like the first one was sent to me, so like that was great. But this time around, like they have not offered to send me a new one. Maybe I'll reach out to them, but it's expensive. It's like $550 for like a brand new set of like the wireless pumps. So I don't want to have to spend the money if I don't have to. So we'll kind of see. But I've heard there's like a couple other ones on the market now since I had Jackson. Like, I don't know if it's called like the Willow or the Mom Cozy. I don't know. There's a couple that I have to look into. But if you guys have any recommendations on like hands-free pumps, let me know, because that's something very useful to like know about. Is my husband excited about the third child? I think he is excited. I think kind of like me at this point, it's kind of like it's gonna be here in no time, and then we're just gonna have to see how it goes. Like we're nervous, we're excited. He's definitely far more excited than he was about this idea like a couple years ago or whatever. You know, before he had like his whole conversion on like how he felt about babies and NFP and all of that you guys know about if you guys are regulars here. I think he's excited, nervous, because we don't know what to expect. We've never gone from 2 to 3 kids, so we're just praying about it and praying that it all works out. But I don't think he's not excited. Like he is excited about the fact that this baby will be here. So when will you do your hospital bag videos? I will do them once I actually like have the stuff that I need to take to the hospital. I started this weekend going on Target and like making a Target baby registry. I think I started looking at Target and then like just doing one with like baby list, I think. And not because I'm sending the list out to anybody, just like for my own like knowledge of like what I still need to purchase, or like to help me feel a little bit more prepared. I went and started like going through the essentials and like what do I already have. I already have a lot of stuff, but there are a few things that I need to still buy for like postpartum recovery. I need to buy like almost everything because I didn't keep any of like the old stuff from postpartum recovery. Like stuff for breastfeeding, still need to purchase. So all of those videos hopefully will be done like in the next maybe month and a half-ish. This is like a loaded question, but this person asked, do you ever worry that when the kids grow up, like in their teenage years maybe, that they might start to rebel against religion and want to go to school rather than homeschool, etc. So like there's like a million things in that question. Do I worry about it? Like, yeah, it's a thought that comes in my head because like I did that. Like I grew up Catholic and then I left the church for a while, like kind of did my own thing. And by the grace of God came back to it in my adult years, now that I was like a mature human with understanding and like was able to connect the dots. Like it was a real grace from God that I was able to come back to the church. But I definitely had my years, like after high school and my college years, that like I was nuts and like that were not good years. Like I apologize to my mother. So knowing the things that I did, I'm like, yeah, probably at some point, I mean, I hope not, I pray not, but at some point will my children maybe make decisions that I'm not happy about? Yes, they probably will. But at this point, all I can do is just try to give them a really strong foundation and hope that I can learn from like mistakes that I have made and try to make sure that I implement like those things, like knowing what I know now about like teenagers and college kids and just growing into an adult and like maturing and all of that, and faith, implementing what I now know into my parenting and my parenting strategies so that hopefully they won't have to go through some of the things that I did. But at the moment, like they're 3 and 5, so am I gonna like lose sleep over it? No, like ultimately I'm just gonna pray about it and give it to God. In terms of like whether or not they're gonna want like to go to regular school versus be homeschooled, again, it's one of those things where at the moment, I'm not really worried about it. Like there's days that Riley will tell me, I don't wanna do schoolwork. And I'm like, okay, well, you have to because you're 5 and I'm your mother. You're learning, it's not like you're unhappy here. And maybe it's gonna sound terrible, but right now I just feel like my goal isn't to necessarily like make her the happiest. My goal isn't necessarily to be her friend. Like I don't take the whole like, oh, I need to be my kid's best friend. Like obviously I want my kid to like me, but that's not like the end goal. My goal is to be their parent. There are gonna be some moments where they don't like me. There are gonna be some moments when I make decisions like as they are children and as they are growing up. Like I'm gonna make decisions that they don't like, that they are not gonna be happy about, but I'm doing it because I love them. I'm doing it because I truly believe that it's what's best for them. And like, I can't feel bad about that. That's just like some of my 2 cents on that. Like I could probably talk about that question entirely and make a whole separate video about it. So what are your thoughts on baby-led weaning versus purees for this baby, since I've done both? You people, like I freaking have done both and neither one has worked, okay? Both of my kids suck at eating. They are terrible picky eaters. All right, you know, like there are some times when I just like, I try to film and then after the fact, I'm just like, why did I try to film? Like Joe just finished calling me that my tripod ran out of battery. So I'm gonna try to continue, but like if it feels like I'm off, it's because I am, because nothing is working. But anyway, baby-led weaning, purees, I did both. Both of my kids are picky eaters. So do I have a ton of advice? I really don't. I do think it's good to try baby-led weaning to a certain extent to get used to feeding your kids like the food that you're making. And if they will eat it, dear Lord, please like give it to them and allow them to eat it. It makes your life easier. They get used to seeing new foods. So I'm all about that. I wish that my kids would have actually liked that for more than a hot minute. Like I think Jackson at one point did pretty well with baby-led weaning and then he got to be super picky. So like if you're doing it in hopes that one day they will not be picky eaters, maybe don't set yourself up for failure, but is it good to experiment with new foods? I know with Riley, I was just really scared of it. I was scared that she was gonna choke. We definitely stuck to purees for much longer than we probably should have. But do whatever is gonna be most comfortable for you. Do whatever is going to get your kid the best nutrition that they can have. I really don't think that at the end of the day makes that big of a difference. Like I said, I did it both ways and they are both equally as challenging in terms of what they will eat, what they won't eat. So do whatever works for you, I guess would be my advice. What are you most nervous about being a mom of 3? I think the thing that I'm most nervous about is honestly just the fact that I'm gonna be really tired and that I'm not gonna sleep. I love to sleep. I love my sleep. Right now, the kids wake up usually no earlier than like 7:30 and it is glorious. I love my sleep. So I'm just most nervous about the exhaustion level, but I know that it's just temporary and that eventually we'll figure it out. I'm not so nervous about like the whole, like, how are you gonna handle having 3 kids? Like you only have 2 hands. Like I'm a pretty good multitasker. And I think that maybe I've talked about that before, or maybe you guys get that vibe because like I do a lot of stuff despite the fact that I have 2 kids. They're always like creating chaos. I do pretty well with chaos. So like one more kid, lots more chaos, but like I do pretty well with it. It's just more so like the physical toll that it's gonna take on me and like the lack of sleep that I'm kind of nervous about. So with baby number 3 joining the family soon, will there be changes for homeschooling? Like you're gonna need time to adjust and recover. There definitely will be some changes, like especially at the beginning. Like this baby's due July 30th is the due date. So like the school year would technically start like sometime in August. So for like the first maybe month or so of like having a newborn, will I be as consistent with Riley's homeschool as I am now, or like as I would like to be? Probably not, which is one of the reasons why I'm trying to like set us up for success in this time. Like instead of taking a break during the summer, I will probably continue to school Riley for the next couple of months and get her ahead of the game for kindergarten. So this coming year is technically the year that she would begin formal kindergarten. We're already working through kindergarten curriculum. We've already been working through that. So she's already doing kindergarten level work. So even if there is a little bit of a lag, or even if there is a little bit of the less like consistent work or whatever, I'm not concerned about her at all. We'll still find ways to do some kind of schooling, even if it's her sitting next to me while I'm nursing with the baby and like putting on National Geographic videos for her to watch. Like she's still learning like that. I can still read to her. She can still read when I'm like nursing the baby, or if she's just like sitting beside me. So we might have to get a little bit creative, but I definitely think that it is still doable. So this is a question all about Disney. This person's saying that she grew up watching Disney movies, and some of them she finds to be too scary or too intense for her 2.5-year-old. Do I have any boundaries around them in regards to age or specific movies? So just talking about Disney movies, I've kind of shared this before, I believe, in other Q&As. I definitely do have boundaries when it comes to the movies that the kids will watch. And yes, even Disney movies, there is some Disney content that I'm not super comfortable with my kids watching. I've shared before about like Sophia the First, that I saw her watching one day. Like I saw Riley watching Sophia the First. She had like an amulet. She was like summoning stuff. I didn't feel comfortable with that. Like that goes against like my Christian Catholic beliefs. I found it to be a little bit too new agey and I didn't like it, so now she doesn't watch it. So things like that where it's like practical magic, things that have to do with like witches, and like I don't really like that kind of stuff. So I try to discern as much of that as I can. You could then go back and say, well, okay, well, like Riley loves Little Mermaid. The Little Mermaid, the same thing. Isn't like Ursula a sea witch and she like steals her voice? Like, yeah, she does too, but at the same time, Riley really loves Little Mermaid. So do I try to like skip through that part? Do I try to like not focus any attention on that? Like it's not gonna be perfect, but I do believe that you as a parent have full control like over what you allow them to watch and what they don't. So just because everybody else is fine with watching The Little Mermaid doesn't mean that you have to be okay with letting your kid watch The Little Mermaid. Like again, it's something that I would recommend that you pray about and that you try to discern for yourself, for your kid. If I saw that Riley was like getting really like obsessed with something that I didn't like if she was trying to be Ursula, if she was trying to be a sea witch, I'd be like, okay, you know what, we're not gonna watch that movie anymore. So things like that, I think it's just your responsibility to kind of keep an eye out for the line between like fantasy and like what I would consider like practical magic. It's kind of a thin line, it's kind of vague. So there's some people that just opt to like say, hey, there's gonna be no like magic, you know, filled movies played for our kids, which I totally respect that opinion. And then there's other people that are a little bit more like they pick and they choose. And I think I kind of fall into that category. Like I'll pick and I'll choose what I want them to watch. But like all of the old school stuff, for the most part, like all of the classic Disney princess movies, I will let them watch. The stuff that I really have more of an issue with, or stuff that I'm a lot more vigilant about, is like any of like the new Disney stuff, like from this generation, from the last couple of years, because there's just a lot more stuff in those kinds of movies that I'm just not comfortable with exposing my kids to, and that's totally okay because I'm their parent and I get to decide that. I did get a lot of questions and comments like asking to see another like finance related video, budgeting video. Maybe I'll sit down soon to do something like that. Somebody did ask, so like, how did you decide on a budget for the new house? So for the budget for the new house, we knew, like we have known pretty much for like the last 3 years of our life, that if our goal was to ever come back to Miami, that we were gonna have to save money because the house prices like were just way more expensive than what we were paying like in Virginia. So we already knew that, which is why I think it was very smart on our part that we were saving money for the last 3 years. So first and foremost, like that majorly helps. Like we knew that we were gonna need more money, so we incorporated that into our budget, living like a lot more frugally than maybe we could have for the last 3 years, because we knew that that was always like the plan. So we were definitely planning ahead. So money that we had saved, we are using that towards a down payment on this next house, as well as like whatever we earned from like the sale of our house. So that definitely helped us to bring down our like actual mortgage payment every month. But as far as like what we wanted to spend, like we could have definitely qualified for more of a mortgage than what we ended up like having to get for the house that we are currently working on down here. Like as it is, even with a more like modest budget, like it's still gonna be hard. Like I'm not like shy to say that, like it's still gonna be hard because my mortgage has doubled, like legit doubled since like what we were paying in Virginia. So that's more money that we have to put towards our house and less that we get to do on like other fun stuff or like just being able to shop and stuff. I think Dave Ramsey these days, I think, what is he saying? I think he says that you shouldn't pay more for your mortgage or your rent than like 25% of your household income. I don't know if it's 20 or 25 that he recommends. There's like other people that will say, okay, maybe 30 is more reasonable. But depending on like your market and depending on like where you live, like it's hard. And like the whole reason behind that is you don't want to be like cash poor. You don't want all of your money going towards like where you live and then you don't have money for groceries, for gas. Like there's a lot of other things to consider. But we definitely ran numbers. We definitely looked at our budgeting. I have other budgeting videos and like all of our expense videos. I have a lot of videos on that to kind of give you an idea of like how well we keep track of our spending. We've done everything from like using like cash envelopes where we used to like stuff like envelopes with actual cash to keep track of our spending, which I have videos on. Then we went to a more digital version of that. So long story short, the point is like we did a lot of tracking our money and knowing where our money was going to get to the number that we felt comfortable with spending. That might not make a lot of sense, but I feel like the number that we reached upon, obviously I would have loved it if my mortgage was not double what I was paying in Virginia, but given that that's what the houses were going for over here, it's like a sacrifice that we were willing to make in that now we're closer to my family and all of that. But you've got to know your numbers and you have to know where your money's going to know what you can actually afford, to know like, hey, we can pay our rent or we can pay our mortgage, but still have money to buy groceries, like all the other essential things. Like, do I need to have extra money to go to Disney every week? No, but I do need to have money to feed my family and then also have a roof over my head and be able to have gas to get to work, like Jody used to get to work. But at this point, I think we'll be fine. We'll have to cut out like other little things, but I think that will be okay like in the long run. Okay, so somebody asked, when do I plan on finding a new homeschool group? Have we checked out the local library yet? So we have not yet checked out the library and we have not yet like been on the hunt for a new homeschool group. Do I want the kids to join another homeschool group, a co-op of some kind? Yes, I think that's super helpful for them, but I also have to be realistic because I'm also about to have like a baby. I'm also about to have a newborn, and I know that there's going to be a period of time where like I can't like commit to, hey, every Thursday we're going to go to the park or we're meeting at somebody's house for a co-op. Like, number one, here in Miami, it does seem like it's going to be harder to find a co-op. Not impossible, but harder for me, like logistically, and like the areas where a lot of these homeschool groups seem to gather like are pretty far from me. Like the homeschool group that we used to have, literally every time we'd go to co-op, it was like no more than 10 minutes away from my house. So it was really a blessing, really convenient, but I doubt that I'm gonna find something like that here. But it's also not at the top of my priority list, just because even if I find something, it's gonna be a little bit, like it's gonna take me some time to get into the swing of things, to like formulate our new routine and like to feel comfortable leaving the house on a regular basis with the 3 kids. And I'm not gonna like push myself to do that either. The kids are fine, the kids have each other. Right now we're going to Mimi's house like a couple times a week. And right now my sister is still living at Mimi's house. She is gonna be moving soon though. But for now, like we get to see Everly, their cousin, a couple times a week. They also have friends. Like this past weekend, we went to church with my girlfriend, her boys were there. The kids have enough interaction here with like friends and family friends that I don't feel like they don't socialize with anyone at all. But hopefully soon, something that I'm praying about, but also trying to not like stress too much about. Okay, so somebody asked this question, maybe they are new here, but a lot of people like thumbs up to that question. So maybe a couple of you guys don't know, but this person said, I recall Joe not wanting baby number 3. How did the change of mind happen? So like, yeah, like he absolutely was totally against baby number 3. I have like a whole video sharing about like his response to me about not wanting baby number 3. How did the change of mind happen? I think I also addressed that like in more depth in another video too, but it was really a whole like spiritual faith-based conversion that he had. And if I haven't like completely answered that question in another video, which I'm pretty sure I have at this point, then I need to like just dedicate more time to just like answering that. But it was a process. It was a process of praying about it. It was a process of him diving into his faith, meeting with priests, like discussing his fears, and then ultimately him coming to like decide that yes, like it was something that he wanted to be obedient to God about, and that he wanted to just trust in the Lord, and if it happens, it happens. So it's been like a long process to get here, which is why I feel like this baby is such a blessing. But yeah, that was like absolutely 1000% all God's doing. So somebody asked if I'm still doing online therapy. I haven't done online therapy in a really long time. Like I did it, I tried it, I used BetterHelp. It was not sponsored, it was something that I paid for myself. And I really liked it while I was doing it. I did it alongside taking Lexapro. So I did like both of those things in conjunction until the point where I felt like the therapy sessions were just kind of getting like redundant, and like I didn't feel like I was benefiting too much from the therapy. So ultimately like I canceled my account, stopped doing the virtual therapy, but it was great. Like it was great. Highly recommend it. I love that there are options where you can go see a therapist, but like you don't have to leave your house. It is more expensive. Like BetterHelp was definitely expensive, but it was a worthwhile investment because like it definitely helped just talking to somebody for like a few weeks there. So I highly recommend it, whether it is virtual or in person. Like if you feel like you are really struggling, and I mean a lot of us, like pretty much all of us in this life, like this world that has gone nuts, like I'm sure like all of us could benefit from a little bit of therapy. The thing is though, I think it is important that you find a good therapist. A good therapist, I'm sure, is a vague description, but especially if you are faith-based, if your faith is important to you, if you're a Christian, if you're Catholic, I think it can be tricky to find a therapist that's in line with like your core beliefs. And I do think that makes a difference, and it's super important if you are gonna look out and like seek therapy, because you could find a therapist and your therapist is like super secular, does not have the same core beliefs as you, and they're gonna throw out suggestions and they're gonna like have advice and things to share that either completely contradict your core beliefs or things that aren't going to really be helpful like in the long run. Maybe that doesn't make sense either, but I would definitely look for a Christian therapist or somebody that is faith-based. BetterHelp did have that option for me. So that's why like when I was looking for a therapist, one of the things I could select was like a Christian-based, I believe, or biblically based counseling, something like that. And that helped me because when I was doing my therapy, like we were able to talk about scripture. We were able to approach topics from like a biblical perspective. And for me, I felt like that made a huge difference. So that's my 2 cents on therapy, but it shouldn't be anything to be ashamed of. I know like in the Latin community for some reason, like remember, I'm still Cuban, like here I am in Miami, I'm Cuban. I feel like maybe there's like a stigma still to like getting therapy and talking to somebody. Like I'm sure like the Cubans in my family, if they like all knew that I was doing therapy, they'd be like, what the heck, like let's slap her around with a chancleta. Like it's not something super common maybe in this like community, but like I don't really care. If you're gonna do something that's gonna help you and that's gonna benefit your mental health and it's gonna help you to be a better mother, take care of your family, then I think that that shouldn't be something that's viewed as a negative. So the next question is, what are you most looking forward to coming back to Miami? I mean, really, it has been what I've experienced like in the last, how many weeks have we been here already? Like 3 weeks. It has been just being able to go to my mom's house, being able to go and see family and spend time there, not feeling like I'm missing out on all the events. Like May for us is a super big month because we have my sister's birthday. My sister's birthday is this week. Then we have Mother's Day. We have my mom's birthday later on in May. So there's like a lot of stuff that happens in May. Then in June you have Father's Day. And for like the last 3 years, we've been here for some of the occasions, but some of them, like, we haven't been here for. Like, we've always been here maybe Mother's Day but not Father's Day, or Father's Day but not Mother's Day, or if I'm here on Mother's Day then I miss my mom's birthday. And like, the fact that I don't have to miss those things anymore makes me so happy. The fact that the kids get to like participate in that. You know, I still am very blessed. I have like all 4 of my grandparents are still alive, like blessing from God that I still have my grandparents. So the fact that I get to see them more often, and that I, you know, don't feel like that time is missed with them being so far away is great. And then like this past weekend too, we had like a family friend's birthday party. I got to bring the kids to that. They were around other kids. Like, those are all the things that I would see pictures of on Facebook, and I was never able to be there because we were so far away. So now I don't have to miss those things, and that makes my heart very happy. And then really just like the food, like I'm so happy that I have access to pastelitos again, and like the Cuban food that I love, and there's just more variety of like foods and things that I like to eat. The weather is just overall easier. Like, yes, it's hot, and there are days where it's like, oh, do I really want to go outside? But after being in Virginia for those brutal winters of like, hey, there are months at a time where like you don't want to go out, you don't want to have to layer 500 million things every time you go out. Like, my car no longer has to be full of 500,000 sweaters and scarves and hats. Like, I'm very glad that now it's just going to be a little bit easier to like go out and do things and spend time outside and in the pool and in the water table, and like get the kids to get some fresh air a little bit more often. So yeah, definitely feeling super grateful for that. So what would be your advice for reading the Bible for the first time? Where do you start? My advice for someone who's gonna read the Bible for the first time is like definitely to have some kind of a guide to help you when you're reading the Bible. For sure, 1000%, whether you're Christian, whether you're Catholic, whether you're nothing and this is like your first time coming to faith, like if you just pick up a Bible and start reading it, it is very difficult to understand. It is very difficult to like connect the dots and to understand things in context. Like, a lot of people like to just like take Bible verses and be like, oh, that's such a pretty sentiment. And it's like, yes, it's a pretty sentiment, but there's also like context to it that when you understand the context, it means so much more. So having some kind of guide to walk you through it, I think is helpful. There are a lot of podcasts these days that are like Bible in a year reading plans, or Bible in a year, and then like they'll read a passage and then they'll give a reflection on it. I'm always gonna recommend to you guys following Father Mike's Bible in a year thing that he does on YouTube. It's a podcast, but he also has all of the videos on YouTube. He is a Catholic priest, so he approaches everything from the Catholic perspective, but he articulates everything so well. He is like one of the coolest priests that I'm so grateful that we have access to with, like, you know, having the internet and stuff. He's a young priest, very down to earth, very cool. He's not like this old stuffy guy that like you can't understand, like super old school. So Joe and I have been doing that for a while now. We actually just finished doing day 250. So we have gotten so much from doing the Bible in a year. It takes maybe like 20 to 30 minutes every episode because you read from the Bible and he reads it all to you. Like even if you don't have a freaking Bible, you can open up YouTube and all the words are there and you can just listen along. You can listen on your way to work. You can listen while you're putting your kid down for a nap. Like, it's very easy to listen to. And then there's like the actual like meaning, like what does this mean? But if you're not Catholic, or if that is not something that you wanted to look into, then I'm sure that they also have Christian, you know, resources. A lot of people will tell you to go into just like the Gospels, and you can just start reading Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because those are the books in the Bible where, like, you know, they're talking about Jesus's time here on earth and all the stuff that Jesus did. That's obviously in the New Testament, which I don't think is a bad thing. I never think it's a bad thing to read the Gospels, but I do think that if you don't read the Bible from the beginning and you completely miss the Old Testament and you just jump into the New Testament and just the Gospels, like, I feel like you miss a lot of context. And so now, for the first time in my life, reading through the Old Testament, some of it is like hard and some of it is boring, but you really understand and start to like understand like the big picture, like the full picture, and like why Jesus was so important and why what he did, you know, meant so much. And like, you really understand God's love for all of us when you read the Bible from the beginning. So I personally would recommend trying at some point in your life to read from the beginning, like all the way through Revelation. But other than that, my advice also is like, it's never too late to read it. You can listen to it, like I said. You don't have to like read it. If you find like reading an actual page is boring, try to listen to it like podcast style. But don't be intimidated, don't be afraid. Even if all you can do is like 10 minutes a day, like that is still making progress and it's still going to benefit your life. And then the last question I'm gonna answer today, because there's still a lot more, but I have to go to Mimi's house. The kids have been really good, they've been playing, but like we gotta wrap this up. Somebody asked, when, why, and how did you guys become preppers? So I don't know how many of you guys like know this. Like I don't talk about it on my channel often, but Joe and I, yes, we are very into prepping. And like if you don't even know what preppers means, like preparedness, you know, like planning for like food shortages or things that could happen in the world. Like for me also that means like planning and preparing for hurricanes. Living in Miami my whole life, like we have been through several hurricanes, we have been through power outages, we have been through situations where we have no power and we're like hot outside for days and like the foods and the refrigerators don't work. So like planning for those kinds of things. And then yes, like the state of the world right now for the most part is chaos. I don't think it's gonna get any better. So how can we be prepared in case, God forbid, another like pandemic hits? Like making sure we have extra toilet paper at home, making sure that we aren't one of those people that don't have toilet paper. So a lot of things have like, I guess, like contributed to why we prep. And again, there's lots of situations for that. I have a couple videos on my channel where I shared like how we prepared for a snowstorm up in Virginia. The fact that like, you know, we have the generator and there's things that we prepared for even being up there. Given that we have had and we've been blessed with the means to like have some extra money to spend, like we've always been like, where can we use this money best? And for us, it's been like putting it towards things that are gonna help us survive. God forbid, like there's a bad situation, God forbid, there is a food shortage or like some of the things that I talked about. I don't think that spending money on like food and like making sure that you have electricity and like making sure that you have medical supplies, like all of those things are worthwhile investments, worthwhile uses of your money. So even though I know that God forbid like a bad situation happens, we don't know what that could be, right? Like we literally don't. But maybe I'll be like one step ahead of the game. Makes me feel happy, makes me less anxious. If we were to have a hurricane, God forbid, or something like that, and I couldn't get to the grocery store for a couple of weeks, like I would be okay. And that gives me a lot of peace of mind. So I think a lot of it has to do with like just peace of mind. In a way, it helps me feel like I have a little bit more control of certain situations, even though ultimately I know that I have very little control when it comes to like these terrible situations that could happen. But I would definitely say it started around the COVID time, just seeing the craziness, like the fact that we all lived through that time, like that has forever changed us, like 1000%. If it didn't change you, I don't know, like you never went outside, you never watched the news. So I think that that was definitely traumatizing, like being like, oh wait, like I was so used to having access to all of these things, and now there could be a time when like we don't have access to these things. Like even if I have the money to buy toilet paper, I cannot find toilet paper, or vice versa. Like maybe I can find eggs, but they're $18 a carton. Like those things we never really went through until recently, and it's a very scary thing. So around that time, and like just being in Virginia for the last 3 years, all of those things kind of came together. We had a basement, we had space to kind of stockpile some food. So I will be continuing some of that prepper stuff here in Miami. That was one of the big reasons why, in terms of looking for a house, storage for us was a big issue, and storage like was a problem here because there's a lot of houses in Miami that don't have any garage at all, and we don't have basements. So I'm like, where are we supposed to put all of our stuff? Like space like was definitely an issue in terms of house hunting and looking for what house we were gonna ultimately buy. But if you're into prepper stuff, food storage, that kind of thing, stay tuned because I have plans to share as much of it with you guys as I can. There's still so much of like prepping or like preparedness that I don't know about that I want to get into. Like the whole starting a garden, a lot of it also had to do with like being more self-sustainable and like being able to grow my own food, like not relying on the grocery stores. So there's a lot of that I want to continue learning about. I still want to learn how to can food that we grow, or just canned food, and preserve food that we can buy at the grocery store so that it lasts longer, extending the shelf life of food. All of that is very interesting to me. Those are honestly the videos that I find myself like binge watching on YouTube. I love all of that. I don't know why, but if you guys are also into that, let me know. And Jackson is literally sitting here playing with his cars, making so much noise. So if you've made it through this far in the video, I applaud you, because I don't even know if you could have heard me half of this video. But I hope you guys enjoyed just like chit-chatting with me. And again, like I always tell you guys, if there's something in particular you guys want to see, let me know. But I like to just kind of be able to chat. You guys can listen to me in the background while you clean your house, or while you drive, or while you do whatever it is that you want to do with your life today while you're watching this. And I just feel like I'm chatting with my friends that I never have a minute to talk to anymore. Like these days it's just getting harder and harder to pick up the camera with everything else that's going on, but I love that I still get to do this. So thank you for listening to me, you guys. I'll do another one of these soon too, because like there were still more questions, and I can't wait to be able to tell you guys all about the house and the situation with buying a house here in Miami. Like I'm almost there where I can talk about it. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening that I hope to be able to share with you guys, a lot of it, and there's just gonna be a lot going on. I don't know, I can't say anything else at this point, but a lot of things that I can cover, and hopefully, like I always say, the whole point of me sharing a lot of this is to maybe help in some way. I know you guys are curious, and that's great, because like we're friends. I'm curious about my friends and like what they do with their life. They're buying a house, I want to know about it, all of that. But also like if there's anything that I can share that is helpful to you, if you're gonna be soon in the home buying, home selling process, or I don't know, dealing with the craziness of real estate, I hope to be able to shed some light on that. So that is it. I love your faces. Thank you for being here. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.